Welcome to Paint Ed. PCA provides painting contractors with connections they need to grow their business. To find out more and to become a member, visit pcapainted.org. Find more great content just like this on PCA Overdrive. A subscription to the platform is included with membership. For all you non-members out there, sign up for a free trial. PCA Overdrive is available on the App Store and Google Play. This episode is brought to you by Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams.
Hard conversations are a skill. It's not a personality trait. You don't have it or not have it. It's a skill that you can learn and develop. There's an art and a science to having these hard conversations, but guess what? A lot of them can be solved with systems and structure. At the very least, it's going to make that hard conversation easier. Welcome back to another episode of the Elite Business Advice podcast. My name is Chris Moore, the founder of Elite Business Advisors, your host here for the podcast. Did you know that most contractors lose money not from bad clients, but from avoiding uncomfortable conversations? I know I personally hated uncomfortable conversations. I still do, actually. That hasn't changed. I'm conflict averse. I don't love it, despite being a 99D naturally on my disc personality. Very low on my adaptive, or very toned down on my adaptive. But what I had to do was I had to build structure and systems in place to help me navigate these uncomfortable conversations. Whether it was a new employee or even existing that just wasn't performing, I built in our structured 7-day, 30-day, 60-day, 90-day reviews for all new employees, and every 90 days with our existing ones. If it was scope creep on a project, I always set structure. They got a free 30 minutes from us. And after that, it was, hey, we're happy to do that. Let me get a quick price together for what it would take to do it. And we can happily knock that out while we're here, right? So we have to build systems in place like structured reviews, or sometimes we have to build structure in place to hold boundaries and draw a line somewhere, right? And so what I want to do in this episode, I want to share how to have hard conversations with your clients, the things that you're going to incur there, some conversations and thought points to help navigate that, how to have hard conversations with your crew, because we know that's going to happen, and then also how to have some hard conversations with yourself, because that might actually be the most important of the three of those. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice podcast. Most of you guys listening to this have been or still are true craftspeople at heart. And what does that mean? If I had to guess for most of you guys, and there's nothing wrong with this, let me clarify this, but being that true craftsperson at heart, it means that you want to please people through the talents you've been given, and that usually also means that numbers and finances typically come second after craftsperson and people pleasing. Now again, nothing wrong with that, but I want you to understand the way that we're wired, the way that a lot of you guys listen to this are wired. I was a little bit different in that. For those of you guys that have heard my story before, I was very business focused first, craftsperson kind of second. But I do have that people pleasing. I did enjoy the craft. I still enjoy doing, house projects, and I kind of have that craftsperson heart, but my business mind kind of overtook it, which again isn't a bad thing, right or wrong here. But I want you to kind of use this as a point to understand why you're probably wired the way you are, and why sometimes that can be harder to overcome tough conversations. Okay, so I want to start out and talk about hard conversations with your clients. Because again, there's 3 buckets of hard conversations: clients, crew, and yourself. If your name starts with the C, insert it there. For me, clients, crew, and Chris are the 3 hard conversations. So let's talk about your clients. The couple hard conversations that are going to come up, the most frequent ones, the most impactful ones, again, that can impact your bottom line, as we talked about early on. Number 1 is scope creep and having boundaries. I kind of lump those together here. Scope creep is just when bedroom walls turn into bedroom walls and like that one random closet door that just needs touched up, right? Like the little things that can continue to pile on that just seem so insignificant until you're 15 hours behind because you've done 15 hours of extra free things for people. And so I think the things we can do with that, again, as we talk about structure systems or how to have a conversation, define and detail out your bids. Be very definitive in what's included, what's not included. Don't take any assumptions. Like, just don't rely on assumptions. Like, oh, well, as a painter, you know that if somebody just wants a bedroom painted, they typically aren't including the closets, right? Because as a painter, that's just not normal. You don't just automatically assume you're painting the closet with the bedroom. Homeowner may not think that. They might think, hey, we expected our bedroom and closet to be painted, and you only painted the bedroom, right? So let's be very detailed and make a list of some of those common things that constantly maybe get brought up that, like, again, assumptions just were off on. And let's be very detailed in the bids. I would always write on our bids, there's a spot in there that like closets are not included unless specifically detailed out with the room, right? So if we were doing closets, I would include it in the scope, but I had a note on there that said like closets are not included unless we've talked about it or it's listed above. Another thing, set the expectations for what they're responsible for. This is where boundaries come into play. For what they are responsible for as the homeowner and what you're going to take care of as part of your job and what you do for people. This is different for every contractor, and that's okay as well. But we need to make sure that everybody's on the same page about this, right? For us, we always had an expectation sheet that went out to the homeowner, a week or two ahead of time. We tried to do it 2 weeks, sometimes even 3 weeks ahead of time. And it was basically laid out as this. We had one for interior, one for exterior, one for cabinets. And it was basically laid out. And it said, here's what we ask of you, not here's what we expect of you. Here's what we need you to do. Here's what we ask of you. Just sounds prettier. Here's what you can expect from us. Okay. And under the what we ask of you section, I'll do an interior one because that's an easy one. Under the interior one, it was, we ask you to remove pictures off the wall. If you're going to rehang it, leave the screw, the anchor, the nail in there. If you were not going to rehang there, pull it out. Where that way our system is, if we see a hole, we're filling it. If we see a nail, a screw, or an anchor left there, we're leaving it. Okay. We ask you to remove breakables from end tables, coffee tables, bookshelves, whatever, nightstands, right? We'll move the big heavy furniture. We need everything else out of the room, right? The small, easy stuff, the breakable stuff, unload the bookshelf, we'll move the bookshelf, right? So whatever it is, right? And so we would detail that out. And then, hey, here's what you expect of us, right? We'll spackle the nail holes. We'll do this. We'll plastic your furniture if we're painting the ceilings or if we're within 3 feet of the wall, like whatever it is, okay? And then the other one that comes into play, and this is like an intangible thing, but you have to set boundaries for what you're doing and what's extra. Because again, even if you don't detail it out, there's going to be the homeowners like, hey, do you mind while you're here to just do this, right? And if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like it's not a big deal. One thing, 10, 15 minutes, not a big deal, right? My rule was like 30. Like we would give them 30 minutes of a little something, and that was it. And if they tried to, like every day it was something extra, like eventually we'd be like, hey, listen, we kind of throw like 30 minutes in of extras, like this wasn't included in our scope. We're happy to do it, but here's what that's going to look like, right? Let me get a quick price together for you. Is there anything else extra you want to talk about while we're having this conversation? Even if it is something like, hey, while you're here, I know we didn't include the closets. Could we go ahead and paint the closets, right? I would always get a price together for that. I want that boundary to be very clear on what they're paying for it. Not, yeah, sure, we'll do it and we'll just throw it on at the end. Okay, well, that's maybe fine if it's a closet that might be $150. I'm throwing a number out there. But what about the master bedroom or the master closet that's now 4 to 5 hours and maybe $300 to $400? Like, you don't want to get into an awkward conversation. Like, you guys get done. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Job's done. Homeowner's happy. Everything looks great. And then you hit them with like a $400 add-on that they thought was going to cost $100. They don't know, right? Now you got a really awkward situation because now you have maybe a disgruntled customer. You got to figure out how to navigate that, and those are other hard conversations. So Just always give them a price up front and set boundaries for what you're doing, what's extra, and how to navigate that. And here's what I want to say. Does Amazon just throw something in for free when you're shopping? They don't. So why should you do that? Again, give them some grace, take care of people, serve people well, set a boundary on how long you're going to give that kind of freebie to happen. Another hard conversation with customers, I'm going to rapid fire through a couple of these. Payment schedule expectations. In my, how we always run our business, you do not get scheduled until we have a deposit. When we receive a deposit from you, you go in our schedule. Black and white. No deposit, no schedule. Pretty clear cut. That's how you get on our schedule, is give us a deposit. If the project was going to last longer than 2 weeks, we're going to have a conversation about progress payments. I'm going to probably detail that out in a bit. Hey, this is a $15,000 job. It's actually going to take our crew 3 weeks to knock out. Again, I'm making up some numbers here. So we'll take a $4,000 deposit. We will take a $7,500 progress payment at the end of week 1, and then we'll collect the final payment whenever the job's done in week 3 or right now. However you're going to schedule this out, set that expectation with them ahead of time. Usually not a big deal. Set the expectation on collecting the final payment. This is one of the biggest things that I see problems with in the residential repaint space with people, is you're chasing $80,000 to $150,000 worth of money always, and it's because you don't have a good wrap-up process for closing out your jobs. Proactively set the expectation that at the end of the last day, you're going to settle up on payment at the final walkthrough. They always got a phone call from me the day before checking in. If I wasn't there, or sometimes I'd have that conversation in person if they were home and I was stopping in, and say, hey, we're going to be wrapping up tomorrow at the end of the day. Are you going to be around? Because if not, we're going to problem solve how we're going to do a walkthrough and collect payment. If they're like, yeah, bet, I'll be here, cool, we'll see you tomorrow. Just so you know, when we're done, Trent is going to grab you. He's going to do a quick walkthrough. And then you can go ahead and settle up on payment. You can give him a check, or you can get online. I'll send over the invoice in the morning. And you can get online and pay, or just give him a check before he leaves. Expectation set. And then they get there the next morning, and the crew lead would always go ask and say, hey, just want to check in. You're still going to be here at the end of the day. We think we should be done between 2, 3:30, somewhere in that ballpark. Are you still going to be here? Yes, no. Again, time to problem solve. How are we doing a walkthrough? How are we getting payment? Expectation set. Okay. I think it's a good idea to have an expectation when you're doing commercial work. What's the schedule look like? Can you get a deposit? Can you request a deposit? How does all that work, right? So make sure you have good payment schedule expectations. Nobody likes to deal with money conversations. It's just annoying for everyone. Last conversation you're going to have with customers, expectations. Oh, the fun one. How do you avoid the confetti bomb blue tape fiasco? Some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I have PTSD from a few of those. What are some questions you can ask at the estimate to assess their expectations? So here's one. If you notice their walls are kind of rough, or their siding looks pretty rough, it's got that alligatoring going on outside, it's been scraped, a lot of layers of paint. If you notice the walls inside are pretty beat up, there's some nail pops, some seams starting to show through, divots in the wall, bad previous patch jobs, whatever it is, right? If you notice things don't look great, ask them hey, what are you looking for or expecting this to look like when we're done? Simple question. Are you expecting it to look brand new and smooth, like brand new construction? Or are you just looking to kind of paint over the existing? You're fine with, some of the imperfections in the wall. We're happy to do whatever you want, but we just want to make sure we get the right bid together and we're on the same page with our quote and what the expectations are, right? Because if you want it to look really good, I never say brand new, but if you want it to look smooth and you want all these things fixed, that's fine. It's just going to take us probably about an extra half day or a day to come in, fix all this, drywall, sand it out, prime it, do all the work beforehand. But if you're fine with how it looks and you're just looking for a color change, cool, we can do that too, right? And so that can be a question that gets asked. I mentioned earlier about detailing out the expectations in bids. I think point out problem areas or paint failures that aren't going to be addressed, right? If they're like, hey, yeah, no, we're fine with how it looks, just come in, obviously, patch the nail holes and holes or anything crazy. But we're fine with how it is. We just want a color change. Great. I'm going to make some notes on there. Nail pops in the living room that, we will not be fixing. stress cracks that we will not be fixing. Like we will not, we will only be patching, nail holes and screw holes in the walls, not fixing any blemishes or anything else, right? Like you're going to want to detail out anything like that after that conversation. So, or again, even if you don't have that conversation, just make some notes on that, and just so they kind of know what that expectation looks like. One thing you can do, you can only do so much ahead of time. Then a lot of it's relying upon how you're navigating your jobs day to day. So one tip to kind of align expectations is to do a walkthrough at the end of every day on what was accomplished, what's finished. Let them know what needs another coat and what tomorrow's game plan. Hey, we only got one coat in the bedroom. Don't overthink it if it doesn't look great. It needs another coat still. But like hey, we want to show you what we got done. Look it over. Let's do a quick walkthrough. And just, make sure you're happy with it, right? Make sure you like the color, make sure you're happy with it, everything. This is going to give you prompt feedback if there's going to be issues with expectations. And even if they don't say it right then and there, you'll know by the time you show up the next morning if you're going to have some problems with this customer, what those expectations look like. And at least then you can mitigate this after day 1, not waiting until after day 10 of a $15,000 project, and all of a sudden you got problems because the expectations were off. Right? The customer thought, I thought you were just going to go back and fix everything we didn't like. Nope. This room is done. What do you think of it? Are you happy with it? Is there any issues you notice we need to address? We'd like to just take care of this as we go throughout the house. Okay. So doing those daily walkthroughs is a great thing. Even when you show up the next morning, hey, did you notice anything in there overnight? Anything since it sat once it dried? They're like, no, everything looks amazing. Like, we're really excited to see the rest of the house. Cool. Now you kind of know what their expectation is. If they go in there with the flashlight and they're like, I noticed this, I noticed this, I noticed this. Now you're going to have to figure out how do we navigate this moving forward, because clearly they had different expectations than you did. We need to figure out a resolution. But regardless, worst case, if you ever have to walk away from a job, I'd rather it be after day 1, because expectations were off and we did everything we could ahead of time, than again waiting until you're now 5 days over budget on this job. So, all right, hard conversations with your crew. This one will be a little bit shorter and easier. Quality issues, number 1. How do we address quality issues? I think a couple things. Having some daily huddles on the job site, whether it's your crew lead leading it or you or the project manager, can be a great thing. I recommend every project manager or owner check in on every job almost every single day. And so again, having a quick daily huddle, identify any issues, talk through it together as a crew, don't assign blame, have a quick daily huddle can be a great thing. Having structured reviews, like I mentioned earlier, that's a big thing when it comes kind of just overall quality, not job-specific quality, is having the structured reviews. I want to have those conversations. I want to open up two-way communication with them, and I want to give them feedback in a structured environment when it's expected, how they're doing. Another one, I'm going to say this a lot here for a few things, but it's true. Have standards in place and systems to overcome or provide solutions. So having a standard in place, here's a perfect example. Painter doesn't have drop cloth below him, constantly splatters on the floor. Okay. The standard is we always have a drop cloth underneath us. Anytime you're rolling, brushing, or sanding, you have a drop cloth underneath you. And that's also the system to solve the problem. Okay. So it might be something simple like that. It might be a bigger thing, right? Maybe it is something like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head of a quick example here, quality-wise. They're not patching the nail holes good, right? You're filling it, but they're not getting sanded properly, right? Okay, well, here's our standard. This is what it needs to look like. You need to be able to run your hand over it. It needs to be smooth. You need to not feel, an indentation or extra compound on it. And the system is part of our SOP. We go in, we spackle the nail holes, we let it dry, turn the fan on, start cutting in, we come back, we sand it, we run our hand over it, we take a work light to it, whatever your standard is, whatever your SOP is, right? So have standards and systems that where that way it's not like, hey, you always end up with paint splatters on the floor. Stop doing that. It's like, hey, that's why our SOP and our standards are this. We always have a drop cloth underneath us for this reason. So just follow the system and the standard, and that'll solve the quality problems, if that makes sense. Always point them back to the system too, by the way. So point them back to the SOP, point them back to how you guys do your projects. Attendance and reliability. This is a big thing. Again, you should have standards in your employee handbook that they signed off on when you hired them or when you created that and rolled it out. You should also be documenting these things in their employee file. If you didn't know, you should have an employee file for each of your employees. Now you do. Document it, date, what's going on, how late were they, etc. But here's the big thing. How are you going to handle that? And what I mean by that is like, where is your emotional intelligence? And I'll get into this with yourself here soon, but where's your emotional intelligence to have this conversation? Are you like the person that just flies off the handle because your painters were 5 minutes late again? Or are you going to show empathy? Are you going to work through it with them? Hey, I noticed you're always 10 to 15 minutes late. What's going on? Like, how can we work together to fix this? Maybe they're going to tell you, oh, it's something with dropping their kids off every morning in the school line, and it's just really hard for them to get to the east side of town on time or something. Okay, cool. Well, I can't force you to drop your kid off earlier. Like, maybe it is something along those lines. And maybe it's not. But at least you're going to show some empathy and you're going to approach it properly, not just berating them, yelling at them, why can't you show up at work on time? Like, treat them like a human being, right? Show some empathy, have a conversation with them, figure out if there's something to work with them on. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to share this, and this kind of goes against everything I just said with standards, but I want to be real with you guys, and I want you to understand that we need to have standards, we need to have structure, but there's always other ways to run business, okay? So my painters, one of my crews, was habitually 10 to 15 minutes late every single day. And it was driving me crazy. Now, granted, they were like 19 and 20, okay? So there's that. I'm not making excuses for them, but if there was somebody that I understood being 10 minutes late every day, it's that compared to, somebody that's 40. I don't know why age matters, but apparently it does. So they were habitually late, and I finally... it didn't matter. Empathy, no, it didn't matter. They were going to be 10 to 15 minutes late every day. And I said, you know what? I really thought about this because I was at the point where I was just so annoyed that I was debating firing them. I don't know if I've ever told them that. Hopefully they listen to this. And I ended up realizing that it was the only complaint I had about them. Our homeowners loved them. They were reliable as could be, minus being 10 to 15 minutes late. But at that point, you're consistent at least. So, there's that. You are reliable. You're just reliably late every day. And their quality was great. They would do more work in 5 hours than most painters do in 8 hours. They, followed our systems. They, were always there if I needed something. And I finally realized, you know what, if the worst thing I have to deal with these two, and then there was a third on and off their crew, depending on the season we were in. It's if the worst thing I have to deal with every day is the fact they're 10 to 15 minutes late, I'm just going to start telling the homeowner we'll be there between 9 and 9:15 or 8:30 and 8:45 or whatever, right? Or I'm going to make sure I'm there at 9, do the walkthrough, kind of get the job set up. They roll in at 9:10, 9:15. Yeah, it's annoying. But if that's the worst thing I have to deal with these guys, and it was, truthfully, it was fine. And if there was a day where I was guys, I need you here. Sometimes I would do what I do with my wife, and I'd be hey, I need you guys here at 8:45. That way, if they were 10 to 15 minutes late, they were there at 9 until they beat me there one time, and I had to lie and tell them Sherwin-Williams was running late. I'd already had the paint the day before. It doesn't matter. But I finally just gave into it. And I don't love that advice because I am very much a systems, a structure, a standards person. But I also want you to realize there's always other ways to run business that it can work. It worked great for us. We made it work. It wasn't a problem. We gave our homeowners a range. They were fine with it. I would usually get there a lot of times. It was fine. So I kind of went off on a tangent there. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. Culture and attitude. Here's what I can say about this. You can fix a bad painter, usually. You can't fix a bad attitude. I've never fixed a bad attitude a day in my life with anybody. It's a non-negotiable for me. I'm going to hire on core values. I'm going to teach you to be a good painter because I can't fix your attitude. I can't fix what you're going to do to our culture. I want people that are going to sew into our culture, not detract from it, right? And so I'm going to protect our culture at all costs, even if it means replacing a high performer. Thankfully, those two guys being late didn't affect our culture. It was fine. if it would have started affecting our culture and all the other employees, then I would have had a problem with it, and I would have had to let them go, because I would have made that hard decision after having more hard conversations. Common thing with this: praise in public, correct in private. Praise good culture, praise good decisions. When things need corrected, do it in private. Don't ever do that in front of a team. Don't ever do it in front of one other person, even if it's somebody that's below them, doesn't matter, or above them, I should say. Don't do it. Always in private, one-on-one. Here's the big thing: lead with empathy. Have a heart-to-heart, one-on-one with somebody. Ask them what's going on in their lives. If their culture sucks, their attitude sucks, especially if it's changed. Hey man, I noticed your attitude's really shifted the last 2 months. Is everything okay? You okay at home? You okay personally? What's going on? And sometimes they just go, wow, man, I didn't realize I was just going down like a slippery slope and getting sucked into conspiracy theories and, whatever. And starting to get wow, I'm really glad you said something. Right? Or they're going to be like, man, yeah, I'm going through, divorce, or going through this, or, whatever. Or they're just going to be like, no, I'm good. I'm like, okay. And then if they don't shift after that, then some more hard conversations are going to have to happen. But sometimes it's just like a reset. Just hey man, I noticed you've always been a big part of our culture and our attitude, and I just noticed the last couple of months things have shifted for you. Are you okay? And usually they're going to open up and tell you. And again, sometimes that's a good reset point to get back on track. Okay. So again, it doesn't have to be we have this big, huge thing. Just treat them like a human being. Have empathy. Have a heart to heart with them. Last thing I want to wrap up with here is, how do you have hard conversations with yourself? And you might think, you have conversations with yourself. Some people do, some people don't. Maybe it's mental illness, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not here to diagnose that, but here's what I can say. You are going to have conversations with yourself all day, every day. What you say when you talk to yourself is probably one of the most important things that affects your attitude every single day. And so you're going to have hard conversations with yourself about how you delegate and give up control. First thing you need to give up is job site ownership. Train a crew lead, get somebody ready to take over for you. Let them own the job. Okay? They wrap it up, they do the walkthrough, they collect the final payment, whatever it is. Let them own the job site. Eventually, let them get there and start the job too. That's like a home run bonus. Then we need to give up administrative things. One of the biggest mistakes, I will say, that I think most painting business owners look back on is not giving up, not delegating some of the administrative stuff sooner to somebody. Even if it's in a part-time role, even if it's a VA, even if it's a spouse, sibling, somebody that can come in and help you do administrative stuff, that you need to do it sooner. I've definitely leveraged our 14-year-old niece at different times years ago to just hey, I've got this spreadsheet and I've just got this really mindless thing that I just need you to do with it, and it's super easy and you can do it, and I just need you to go deal with it. Okay. I tried to learn from when I had my painting business to not make that same mistake here. I definitely still did, but I at least was able to delegate some stuff sooner. Here's what I want you to think about. If everything goes through you, the business won't thrive. You will bottleneck your own company. The only thing standing between you and where you want to go is unfortunately yourself. So how do we help you get out of your own way? The second thing with hard conversations with yourself is the fact that you have to make an identity shift. You have to go from being an operator to an owner. And guess what? Business owners, they focus on systems, they focus on hiring, they focus on numbers. They don't focus on paint application and ladders and plastic. Okay? We have to shift our mindset to focus on things. I was talking to one of our clients this morning, very true crafts person. And the conversation came up. He's like, man, I get into these jobs and all of a sudden I'm like, man, how did so much time pass? What happened? I'm moving. I'm not on my phone. I'm working. And I was like, here's the only thing I can think of is that every time I showed up to a job, even if I was doing it myself, my guys were there. I had one thought. How quickly can we get in and out of this job? Now, it wasn't all about the numbers. It wasn't that we didn't care about quality. We had plenty of happy customers. We had plenty of 5-star Google reviews. We would make people happy. We would do that. But my focus was how do we get in and out of here the quickest, whether it was me putting my time into it, whether it was my guys there. Hey, how do we get in and out? What are the systems we need? What is the job site plan? How do we get out of here the quickest and on to the next one? And how much money can we make on this job? That was my mentality. It wasn't being a craftsperson. And again, that's okay. And it's okay if you are being a craftsperson, but we have to think differently. We have to think numbers and schedule and how do we get in and out of here. And where that conversation went with that client was, I know he's probably spending too much time doing too many extras with things that they'll never see because he sees it. But 98% of his customers never will see the little imperfections that he's taking extra time to fix for them. And I appreciate that. And him and I have had that conversation a lot. So that being said, we have to think differently. It all starts with self-leadership. We can't lead others if we can't lead ourselves. Okay, I'll do a whole nother episode sometime soon on how do you lead yourself. It's something I'm on a journey of self-discovery, making sure that I'm leading myself well so that I can lead my wife, I can lead my family, can lead our business, can lead our church, everything that I'm responsible for in leadership. What I've realized is I can never be better at leading it if I can't lead myself. So I'll do a whole separate episode on that one here soon. Here's what I'll wrap you up with. Here's what we're going to wrap up with. There's a funny story, but we're so far over on time. Here's what I want you to know. The good news about all of this that we just talked about. Hard conversations are a skill. It's not a personality trait. You don't have it or not have it. It's a skill that you can learn and develop. There's an art and a science to having these hard conversations, but guess what? A lot of them can be solved with systems and structure. At the very least, it's going to make that hard conversation easier. Thanks for plugging into this week's episode. I hope you're able to take a few nuggets away from it to implement into your business. Remember, knowledge without implementation is useless. If you're curious about what we do and how we help painting contractors all over North America, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. Our entire team of advisors have ran and managed painting companies just like myself and are here to help support you on your journey. We have packages available for contractors at every stage of business, from flying solo and just starting out, all the way to multi-million-dollar businesses. And lastly, if you love this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. Thanks for plugging in, and we'll see you back for next week's episode.
Paint Ed podcasts are produced by the Painting Contractors Association and are made possible by members and industry partners. To find out more about the upcoming educational opportunities or for more information about joining the PCA, visit pcapainted.org.